My name is Kathy Dole. I'm the tired one. I teach here in Michigan. I'm actually a curriculum director for the past 3 years, and I've been working with CMP since it was a pilot with CMP. And I had at first a very rigid notebook, and that was for me to help me feel comfortable with what was going on with connected math and to see all the parts coming together for kids. I have become a lot freer with that because of the organization they were coming from in 6th grade. But I offered to them a set of notebook guidelines in case they don't have a way they want to organize themselves. Her a copy of that. But I just went through the parts of connected mathematics that are there. So they had a section that was for their problems, the problem 1.1, 1.2, all of that. So I had a problem section. I have an ACE section, so they had a place to put all their homework, and it is divided up. There was a section for vocabulary, but as Yvonne said, that became less and less important to them because they wanted it back with their problems. Because if they were going to use it, they were connecting, like scale factor, they were connecting that to the WUMPs. So they were connecting it with a situation, so they wanted their vocabulary elsewhere. But I had a vocabulary section, and then I had a reflection section and an assessment section. So I had all of those sections that I offer as options if they can't come up with a way for themselves to organize what they're doing. And in the part that I've given to Anne Marie, it lists some suggestions of what would go behind the problems, what would go at age, what would go with assessment, and those things. I collect them once every unit, and I do give them a grade, but it's only 10 points. And I just grade them on organization. Because with especially my 7th graders, they haven't found their way in life organization yet. And I want to give them some feedback on how they're doing with it, because I do want them to use it on every checkup, quiz, and test. And if they're just a mess, it's not going to be helpful for them. So I do collect them. It's only 10 points. It's really minimal in their overall grade. And I literally tell them, I'm going to sit there and I'm just going to randomly say, can I find the reflection we did for investigation 2? And it doesn't have to be the way I would organize it, but is it easy to find? Can I find the notes we took on problem 3.2? And I just randomly look for it. And if I do 3 or 4 of those, and if I can, they get a 10 out of 10. If not, I'm writing them a note and explaining, I gave you a 7 out of 10, I couldn't find this, come see me if you disagree, kind of thing. So I do grade it once every book.
Once they're organized, where are they kept?
Their notebooks, they take it with them all the time. They have it for their homework, and the book is kept in there and all that. And I do at the end of every unit, we take a day and we talk about what were the big ideas in this book. What were we learning about in looking for Pythagoras? And we list those on the board. And then they look for evidence in their binder of things that they could use later to help them remember all those big ideas. And I had file cabinets in my room and a file folder for each kid. And they put on the front looking for Pythagoras, staple it all together, and put it in their file folder. And then they know at any time if they want to use that, they can get it out. My 7th graders didn't use it as much because they're still 7th graders and trying to figure all that out, but my 8th graders did. They were in the middle of growing, and they thought, this is kind of like the inverse variation in thinking with math models, I want to see. And so they go get their file folder and look at it. So it's almost a maturity thing. As they get older, they find their way of organizing and how they want to use it.
Did you ever have any kids that lost their binder?
All the time.
Okay, what did you do with that? Because we had that a couple times too.
Um,
And they completely lose their binder.
That they have to start over, but they can go to friends. They can go. They have. In my room, they sit with the same group of students for an entire unit. So they talk to the people they've been sitting with, and people, their friends are usually really helpful to give them what they need.
Students do some of these things. I'm wondering if you're writing things down and modeling and asking what they want, or if you're taking some of the public records from the day, from the notes, or how are you, I mean, who's deciding what goes in it, and are you modeling it and writing it down? How are you making that decision?
In the
Yes.
interactive notebook or in the regular note, or in any notebook?
I like that answer.
Yeah, the notes that are in the kids' binders are a combination of all of that. Sometimes it's like Terry said, it's what their thinking was when they were doing the Explore. Sometimes it's, we've come to this big generalization as a class in the summary. So if I write it down on the whiteboard, it must be important, so we write it down all together. And it's a combination of all of that in the problem section that my students have. The
Oh, that's
reflections.
reflections.
Yeah, I had a separate section for reflections, but I found it depended on the student. Again, mine were just guidelines because I had 7th and 8th grade. So I had guidelines and suggested that, but many kids wanted their reflections with their problems. So they had done 3-1, 3-2, 3-3, 3-4, and then they wanted their reflection to follow right after it. And other kids wanted their reflections all in a separate section because they wanted to look at just those big ideas before checkups, quizzes, and tests. So I left it up to them. My guideline that I gave them was a separate section if they weren't sure what they wanted. Questions on notebooks?
I'm wondering about your thoughts on composition books as opposed to notebooks. I know in my school we have pretty big binders already, and so I just wonder about that.
I think composition books would be great for them to keep their notes and keep everything in. I would just worry about their book, unless that's going in the binder as well.
Right.
Because if we kept our CMP1 books, gosh, over 10 years, and they were still in good shape. We actually gave them to another city, and then that city gave them to the current district that I'm in. So they lasted 20 years, if you keep them in binders.